Hey everyone, I'm Kim McNeil, founder of Kim McNeil Yoga Inc. based out of Calgary, Alberta. Many of you have emailed me wanting a sequence in particular for the hips, either because you have pain in the hips or back or knees. Maybe you're recovering from hip surgery, replacement, another injury, or maybe because you have arthritis in the hips. So for any of those reasons, this next sequence is going to work really well for you. And it's really quick. There are two options depending on whether or not you have good balance or what level you're at in terms of your ability to get a good contraction between the inner and outer thigh of thigh muscles of the leg. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. The abductors, so the leg muscles that pull the leg away from the body, and the adductors, the muscles that pull the leg in towards the body or towards the midline. First thing, what you can use is a chair for balance, but then simply freestand or stand in the middle of a room. And usually a good starting place with this one is to take your feet about hip width apart, stand tall, and then keeping most of your weight, to begin with anyways in this case, on the left side. So right into that heel, get a nice good contraction in your quads and your glutes, so that's the front of the thigh and your buttock muscles, in that standing left leg, and then you'll ever so gently trying to resist shifting your weight too far to the left, or to resist shifting your hips or spine to the left. You'll take the leg, right leg, ever so slowly out to the right. Now if you go too far as you do this, you'll start to feel one of two things: either an intense sort of stretch sensation in the inner right thigh, or you'll feel a contraction sort of feeling on the inner side of the leg as well. So then you're kind of in this tug of war. But you don't want that. You want a very obvious, clear contraction of the thigh muscles of the outer thigh, the outer hip, even a little bit higher up into here as you take the leg out. Depending on your strength, you might be able to move the leg about an inch or so out to the side. If you have a bit more strength, you might be able to take the leg out further without ruining your standing position, okay? So you would do that, building up of course, for a few breaths out to the side, a nice hold for a breath or two, and then you'll come back in, okay? And then you'll build reps for that. And if you can ensure that there's no contraction or stretch sensation, intense stretch sensation through the inner thigh, then you can go further out with time. And of course you'd want to switch around and do the same thing on the other side. So it's not that you really have to turn. You could do it here as long as the chair doesn't get in your way, right? And then see the difference between your legs. So is there a leg that abducts more easily than the other one? Is there more obvious strength? Can you pull the leg out more easily with one leg versus the other? So have fun with that, right? There's no right or wrong. It's all about building body awareness and then of course overall strength. So that's the abduction. So you'll do, again, just to be clear, right? You'll do one side, pull out, hold for a couple breaths at most, and then come back in. And then you can repeat that. I say about 3 times per side. It's usually a good amount of time. And then come back in. Okay? Then you can switch legs, do the same sequence 3 times, hold for a couple breaths on the other leg, come back in. And then once you've done that, you can progress to inner thigh. Now this one's a bit trickier because we tend to be weaker as a general rule through the inner thigh muscles, and also it's just a little bit more awkward. But things to think about when you're adducting the leg. So when you're bringing it into the midline, and in this case when we're starting in a standing position, when we're crossing the leg over the midline, okay? You don't want to flex in the hip, so you don't want to do this, and you don't want to flex in the knee and do a lot of this. You simply want to bring, in this case, the right leg forward just enough so that it comes in front of the left leg, and then we cross the leg over. So get a really nice contraction through here, through this part of the leg, and nothing should be going on through the outside, okay? Very, very, very gently. That's one thing that people tend to do. We're always thinking of more is better, or no pain, no gain, that sort of thing. But you want to be very gentle, very slow with your movements, focus on the breath, and with those gentle movements, gentle contractions, you're less liable to get cramping. So in this case, we want a contraction here, no cramping through the outside, so less of a chance of cramping, less of a chance of a deep stretch, almost a bad pull sensation through the outer thigh, less of any of that sort of stuff, okay? And some of you might find that this is impossible to do right away, either because of balance or because you'll feel that contraction or that sort of cramping in the outer hip. So take it slow, even just a millimeter or so over to the side or across the midline is a good start. And like with the abduction, you'll do across, hold for a couple breaths. You don't need to hold any more than that. Make sure these guys are working, inner thighs, and then come back. And then do it 2 more times. So 3 times as well, then switch legs. Okay? Another opportunity to see where your imbalance is, or if you have an imbalance, and most of us do, between the inner thighs. Which leg is stronger, which leg has a bit more mobility in it, more ability to cross over. Okay, so explore that for yourself. Now, if you do have a bit more strength, and you have some good wall space, then you can use the wall, and particularly the baseboard, to do this exercise. And it goes sort of the same way, except now you'll use the wall as resistance. So for those of us who might be a little bit tighter or a little bit weaker, you'll need to come in really, really close. And then when you do your abduction, and I'm in a corner, but you would, it would be better just to go up against, you know, a nice flat surface of the wall. But for the sake of the demonstration, I'm going to go into this corner. You'll turn your outer heel, or your heel out, excuse me, and then you'll take the leg into abduction, or you'll take the leg out. Now, when you use a wall, so if I just turn this way and not disappear from the camera, when you use the wall in this way and you abduct the leg, you'll have something for that heel, outer foot to press into, okay? And again, it's a gentle contraction, nothing too aggressive. The wall is going to do its job in terms of creating some resistance and some support. And when you abduct the leg, you'll ever so gently press into the wall for those few breaths, and then you'll release. Now, the beauty of using a wall is that you can begin to see how you're progressing. Not that we, necessarily care about taking these massive steps or making these massive improvements all at once. That doesn't always happen. So just remember that. But it's nice to see with each, time that we work on this abduction, for example, we can maybe get a little bit further from the wall. We're not ruining our form, and we're able to isolate the outer thigh, the abductor muscles as we pull the leg out. Okay? So one more time. Heel out slightly. Take the leg out. Press the outer heel, outer foot into the wall very gently. You shouldn't feel any stretch sensation through the inner thigh. It should be all through here. Hold for a few breaths at most, then release. Do it 2 more times, so 3 in total. Each time, if you're feeling good, you can go further out to the side. Not breaking your form with your hips or your spine. Keep this part of the body, hips up, nice and quiet, okay? And then in time, you might be able to get a nice, good abduction all the way out, okay? Now, same thing goes for the wall with the adduction, but this one you'd have to get really, really close. Bring the leg forward, heel in, and then we cross it over and we hit the baseboard or the wall, and we gently, gently press in. So you'll feel that contraction here, get a nice release here, 3 times, holding for 3 breaths each time. And there's nothing that says you can't do this sequence every day. And then you'll be able to decide, can I move further away? These movements tend to be a little less obvious or a little less drastic as we start to pull away, but you might feel that change happening. For the most part, what you'll feel is a much better ability of contracting these guys when we cross over and these guys when we come out, okay? Nothing that says you can't do that every day. Recommend it even before doing exercises like walking to help get these guys working. If you have knee pain, say going up the stairs, or hip pain going up the stairs, it's a nice way to get these guys to fire so that you can help that process along and not allow sort of wonky knee tracking to happen as you do those things, so stairs and walking and so forth. And then of course in your yoga practice, you'll definitely benefit from stronger inner and outer thigh muscles. So have fun with it. Let me know how it goes. You can email me at info@kimmcneilyoga.ca, or you can connect with me on my website, mcneilyoga.ca, and sign up for my newsletter, and I'll be sure to send you more tips on the hips and other parts of the body in terms of yoga therapy. Thanks guys, enjoy!